Welcome to Chasing Hard podcast, where we talk about trusting God when life doesn't turn out the way you plan. This week it's just me again. I am going to have guests. I have them lined up. It's just the end of the year cancellation and things coming up that makes it just me. So it's a good thing I have things to talk about, right? Today I want to talk about the holidays and loneliness. As I was preparing, thinking about getting ready for Thanksgiving, I was overcome really with an overwhelming sense of loneliness, of longing. And my mind flashed back to being a kid and going to my grandparents' farm and all that entailed and the people I saw and the people we spent time with. And I have some good memories of those days, of those Thanksgivings, but they're mixed with a feeling of loneliness that I don't understand. It's been there as long as the memories, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I just didn't become aware of it until I was older. But I just want to talk about how loneliness and holidays go together a lot of times, and how loneliness is a really big part of a lot of people's lives. And I'm not even talking about people who are alone or who sometimes feel lonely or who are depressed and lonely. I'm talking about the loneliness we all feel from time to time, whether we are in a room with other people or not. And it finally hit me in my older age that I feel like that is something that God has given to us, this longing for something that we can't put our fingers on. This loneliness is connected with the fact that this is not our homes. We were never intended to spend eternity here, even though we try, like the Dickens, to live forever, to be healthy forever, to be young forever, all of the things that we in our Western society value. Long ago, I feel like dying was looked upon in a different way. And with death, there is always sadness. Even if your person lived a long life, a good life, died in their sleep, even there's sadness that accompanies that because we're connected to them. We love them, we care about them, we will miss them. It's just different these days when like we don't dying is not something that we look at or even anticipate and look forward to, and not in a sick way. It's if you are a Christ follower, it's your reward. Like you are leaving this life of suffering and pain and you're going to a better one where you won't have pain and sorrow. Sign me up. I mean, like, why do we look at that as this horrible ending? Because it's not the end, which reminds me of last week's podcast was in the end, there is an end. And there is an end to this life. We were created to live forever because we're spirit beings living in a body, and this body has a shelf life. Our spirits don't. Spirit man will live forever. And so, just want to talk about loneliness for a little bit. You're not weird if you feel lonely and don't know why. You're not weird if you're a happy person and enjoy your life, but you feel loneliness at times and don't know why. That's not weird. That's part of the human experience. And I think that's part of why we are driven to so many things that we are driven to, trying to mask and fill up that empty feeling of loneliness and longing. It's like a longing for home, a longing for people who have gone before us, but also a longing for home, being with our Creator, our Father God, in our true homes. We are, our citizenship is not here. Earth is not our home. And that's just a natural feeling that I don't think we know how to identify and talk about. So I want to normalize it some for you. And then there's the holiday loneliness, and I get that. And I think that is a trigger for a lot of people to feel lonely, but they don't want to be categorized as the person who doesn't like the holidays because they're alone, lonely. So they don't talk about it. And that's a real thing. People who are alone for the holidays because they're alone in life for whatever reason. They've chosen it, they haven't chosen it, natural circumstances, for whatever reason, they are alone physically with no people in the world to gather with on the holidays. And that is loneliness, and that is sad. And those people tend to overlook the holidays, not participate in the holidays. I get it. We all do what we have to do to survive. But there's also the loneliness that comes for other people who enjoy their lives or even like the holidays. Like, I like the holidays, I like Thanksgiving. But that doesn't stop those feelings that I have of longing for times past or longing for something I can't identify. And therefore, I think it's a spiritual thing, an eternity thing. So I don't know what your plans are for the holidays and how you spent Thanksgiving. Do you just try to get through it? Maybe some of us have a little bit of that going on. Maybe a lot of us have a little bit of that going on during the holidays. Or maybe you love the holidays and you're all up for it and all out for it, and you do all the things you can do to make this a special and joyous occasion. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. You still feel lonely and you don't know why. So you just maybe do more. I mean, again, whatever you have to do to survive. Maybe take the opportunity when the feelings come. If you're one of those persons who feels these things, who identifies with what I'm talking about right now, take the opportunity to feel them. Don't try to stop them. Don't try to figure out what they mean. Just feel them. It won't kill you. Feelings are a funny thing. They're fickle because they don't stick around for long. They're sort of fleeting because they don't stick around for long. Feelings have a tendency to change. They aren't the definers of who we are. They're just an indication to pay attention to what's going on instead of filling up the void with however you fill up the void: eating, shopping, sex, spending money. I said shopping, gambling, whatever the vice is, drinking, smoking, drugs, exercising, talking. There's so many things that we do to escape us, to escape the feelings that we feel. And a lot of times I think it's because we don't understand why we feel that way. And then sometimes there are things that happen to us that our bodies protect us from, and we don't remember them. So a lot of times, I'm not saying that's the case with you, but a lot of times those things are tied in together. We were created so precisely and intricately, and with the ability, our bodies have the ability to heal themselves physically, and maybe not totally and not from everything. They're made to do that, to reproduce cells and skin, all the things. I'm not a biologist. But our psyches are pretty cool too. They can protect us in ways that we don't understand. I had an accident when I was a child, a biking accident. I remember this accident. I was pretty young, first, second grade, maybe. It was the day before Halloween, I do believe. I was riding down the street on a bike that was a little too big for me. And I was racing a neighborhood boy who I probably had a crush on. And as we were racing, and I don't even know if we said, "Hey, let's race." He was riding, I was riding. We were started racing, and so he was going home, and he was on my right, and his house was on my left. And so he goes to pull into his driveway, and my front tire engaged with his back tire, and I went down. Apparently, I don't remember. I remember that there were some activities going on in the neighborhood right up ahead on the next curve with some girls jumping rope. I saw myself ride by the girls jumping rope and the other kids playing in the open field area, playing football or something. But in actuality, the next thing I remember was being carried because I was looking up at the sky. And then I remembered being in the car in between my parents, probably no seatbelt. I don't know if cars had seatbelts back then. And my mother was shoving her Diet Right Coke down my throat because the doctors told them to keep me awake. And that's all I remember. I remember I couldn't go trick-or-treating, and that boy who I crashed with and his mother came to the house and brought me a little bag of candy. He didn't really look like he wanted to be there. I'm sure his mom made him, but it was a nice gesture. I don't remember that. To this day, those are my memories. I know I had a concussion. I know I fell. I know I hit my head hard on the street, but I have no memory of that. Our bodies are amazing. God created us in amazing ways. So I feel like, to tie that back in with what I'm talking about, there are feelings that we have and we don't know why. And our bodies are protecting us from something sometimes, not always. The feelings that I have of loneliness, I'm longing for a different time. I'm longing for the different people that I miss that are not in my life. It's common. Holidays tend to bring those things to the surface for me, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. So I'm here to encourage you to live in the moment, stay in the moment, whatever that looks like for you. Do what you can to feel the feelings because they're not going to go away forever. They're going to go away quickly, but they'll come back again. You're going to have to deal with them sometime, or they show up in other ways. And a lot of times they show up physically in our bodies. Like when we suppress whatever it is we're suppressing, a lot of times it manifests in our body in a physical way. And that's why I think we have a lot of anxiety and all these sicknesses and diseases that we don't have a reason for. It's because of anxiety and the way our bodies function. I'm not a doctor, not a biologist, I'm not a Bible scholar, a lot of things that I'm not, but I do know a few things because I'm old and I pursued some things, and especially emotional wellness and mental wellness. Mental health is kind of important to me. So if you feel lonely around the holidays, I'm sorry. You're not alone in those feelings. A lot of us feel them and we don't talk about them. I'm talking about them today. And I hope you find someone to talk about them with as well, if that's a part of who you are and a part of your holiday experience. Okay, let me wrap this up. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening to the conversation that I'm having with you, this one-way conversation. I promise there are people lined up to come. I do have one in December for sure. A few we're still deciding, and I will have more guests. So let me know what you think, what you want to talk about, what you want to explore here on this podcast, because it's here for you to help you in whatever it is that you're trying to trust God in, whatever situation that didn't turn out the way you planned. I will be here next week to do it again. I hope you are too.